the National Trust has some sort of decolonising museums, Arts Council England funded organisation, and I saw these children being taken to the countryside to learn about colonialism. I saw another group, I saw a council where they took the children off to go and learn about the slave trade in Derby, or like Derby's colonial. And you look at the pictures, there's like tiny little children, and the problem is they're not giving like a rounded history lesson. It's all just like, look what your ancestors did. And sometimes like I say that it feels a bit like England is being treated as if it's Nazi Germany, as if we have the same past as Germany and we need to say sorry all the time and everything needs to go, we need statues. And it's like, we defeated fascism, we helped defeat fascism. Like, we actually have a very proud history in the last century. And for me, it's not like, the problem isn't about teaching about the British Empire and colonialism. There are multiple issues. It's the goal of it. It's sort of like decolonization is being used as a verb for de-whiteify. It's not clear what anyone's saying. They come out, like, people using it say things like, yeah, we need to decolonize these spaces and blah, blah. And you're like, okay, what do you mean? Can you please explain in practical steps what you're trying to say? Because I've actually, I've got time for people if they can spell out what they mean. Like, I watched a really interesting professor investigating like colorism. Mm-hmm. That was really obvious to me what she was saying. She was saying like, these skin colors, they're like, and she was getting taxpayer funded. And I was like, well, I totally understand what she's saying. It's very clear. Or if someone says, I'm an ethnic minority, and I know this might be hard for you to understand sometimes as a white person, but I feel very nervous when I'm in a space in the countryside. And like, I totally get that, but this movement is something else. It's really too far. I feel like no one's really pressing pause and like, hang on, this is going really frenzied. This is like kind of, I don't want to say Robespierre, but it just feels like there's momentum going, like decolonize. And I think a lot of taxpayers and people have heard it. They're sort of, they hear it every now and then and they're like, ugh, the lefty again. But if you see how many taxpayer funded things have that word in it, how dominant it's becoming in all our state institutions, you will be like a little bit scared.
Sometimes they say the quiet part out loud, like Humza Yousaf. Do you remember that? Did you hear that speech he gave when he said, white, this person, white, the Scottish leader?
Yeah.
That's, to this day, I think that is, I don't want to be sort of tribal about this because I like to see myself as a centrist or whatever that even means today, right? Because it's all gone so bananas on every side. But I think maybe in the last 50 years or since sort of Enoch Powell and all the Rivers of Blood, stuff like that, it is the most chilling speech I've ever heard any person in power say in a Western country. The first leader of Scotland, the aggression, he was spitting and just and saying, the leader of the police, wait. The leader of this government, wait. This person, wait. Like so aggressively.
Yeah.
And that was the quiet part outside of decolonization, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really horrible. And also it's really not, say if you are, you really think that British people, for instance, don't know enough about the British Empire, they are not acknowledging the past and like, etc. Why would all of these efforts that are just so alienating, that are like, you're horrible, your granddad's Christopher Columbus. Oh, yeah. It just feels like that. It's like, hang on a minute, like, my dad's a lawyer, my granddad was in the Navy. Like, what have they got to do, just because I've got that skin? But it's not, that's what really worries me as well, because like, it is important for people to understand. Louise Perry has a really interesting bit in her book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, about empire. And it's about how the Brits took Indian women off to just have as sex slaves. And that really horrified me. And I was like, I really do want to know more, but I don't want, like, obviously if someone's sort of like framing it in quite a threatening, sort of sinister,
we're going to
decolonize you sort of way, then you're not going to ever learn about those areas, because it feels like a culture war in itself.
Some bloke who probably would have spat on us just because we're not posh enough or whatever it might be 100 years ago was doing horrible things to women, and for some reason you need to take a share of that blame. That's the problem, I think. Rather than look at you white people and look at the history and what you guys did and your ancestors, it should be everyone from different ethnicities, let's all together look at what those people who are not us did that we now say is not right, and we can grow from it. And instead of pointing your ancestors, what's it got to do with them? Mine were in like Eastern Europe, being pogromed and stuff, came to the UK in abject poverty. But even if they were kings, it doesn't make a difference to who I am today. And it's just that bitterness